Guys, Kev here, and today I'm going to be showcasing the 6 custom James Bond minifigures that I made. So in total I built 6 minifigures, 1 for James Bond, and then 5 of James Bond villains. So pretty much built 1 James Bond, and then I figured I would just make some villains, because villains are part of what makes James Bond films so good. So I made some really cool villains, and I'm going to dive in depth to each one of these. And the very last one is going to be my favorite minifigure here. So make sure you stay tuned for the very last minifigure, because that's going to be my favorite. And without further ado, let's dive in to these custom James Bond villain minifigures that I've made. First up, we have a classic looking Sean Connery. So I did change this up a bit from the Goldfinger mock I made. Instead of just making him, a spy gear, I gave him a suit, kind of like you see him in casinos and nice places wearing a suit. So I decided to make him a suit and, go full out James Bond. But I really do like the hairpiece I gave him, same stern expression and hairpiece. I just changed up to have a suit and a gun and even a little bit of back printing there. But personally, this turned out a really cool minifigure, and I think it definitely represents who James Bond is pretty well, and I think I did a pretty good job of getting it to look like Sean Connery. Then I built one of James Bond's fiercest enemies and my second favorite James Bond villain ever, Alec Trevlin. He's such a really cool villain in the movie Goldfinger. He started off as 006 and James Bond's partner, and then he pretty much turned evil, and he's one of my favorite James Bond villains of all time, and I thought I just had to make him. So I pretty much made this evil version of 007. He's got his machine gun, and he's got a lot of spy gear on, which I really turned out pretty cool. I really like the leg printing with the pockets, and just looks like he's really dressed up in his spy gear pretty well, even some back printing there. But Alec Trevlin turned out a really, really cool minifigure. The second expression is when he's really enraged at James Bond. I really wanted the scarred look, because the second half of the movie his face is hideously scarred from when he almost died, but it pretty much, I couldn't get a scarred face, so I just went with this. Of course, I had to make Goldfinger, and this is literally the exact same from the mock I made, because I pretty much felt that I nailed him when I made the mock, and so I didn't really see any immediate changes I needed to make to him. So this is the same from the Goldfinger mock I did. He's still got, that Batman tie, that really cool gold arm printing, but, it's pretty simple, and I think it definitely looks a fair amount like Goldfinger, and it is the same used in that mock. Next figure I built a Baron Samedi minifigure. And I do actually own a pop figure of this guy. It's one of the only pop figures I own, but I'm a huge James Bond fan, so when I saw this pop figure in the store, I thought I needed to pick it up. But this is the same guy I built this minifigure off of, so he's pretty much in Live and Let Die, the crazy voodoo villain that does a bunch of voodoo stuff on James Bond, and I thought it'd be pretty fun to make him, so I gave him this really cool makeup, and it looks really neat. Of course, I gave him his iconic top hat, his staff, and his cape, and just some voodoo stuff on his chest and on his legs. And I think he turned out really, really cool, and definitely looks a lot like the actual guy. And it was definitely a really, really fun and unique minifigure, because I've never seen a Baron Samedi minifigures before, so it was really neat to go out of the ordinary and make him. Next up, we have Rosaleb, and she's not one of my favorite James Bond villains. In fact, I think she's a little bit annoying, but I pretty much had the perfect parts for her, so I decided that I would make her. I know she's pretty short in the movie, so, I gave her short legs. She's got a pretty cool coat with a gun, and she's got this really, evil smirk on, and I definitely think I represented her pretty well, and she definitely looks quite a bit like Rosaleb, I think, which is really cool and definitely one of the more accurate custom figures that I've made. And the very last, but of course my favorite custom minifigure, is Jaws. Jaws just, I am so happy with how Jaws turned out. He turned out looking so much like the actual guy, which I'm very surprised by, because I had no clue how I would give him his iconic metal teeth. In fact, if we pop the whole hair off, you can actually see it's literally the Batman face. That's the Batman visor right there. And I didn't know what I was going to do with the Batman visor, because, I couldn't just make him looking like Batman, but I thought it had the perfect teeth and perfect expression. So when you pretty much put this hairpiece on him, it pretty much kind of covers it up a little bit, or makes it look like it's part of his hair, giving the illusion that he's pretty much baring his teeth just like he is in the movie, which turned out really cool. I noticed in the movie he has overalls, so yeah, overalls. This is actually like a torso from the 90s. It was one of my dad's minifigures that I got from my grandparents, and so I figured I would use it because it looks perfect, to give him little overalls. But I think I did an incredible job with this minifigure, and very cool minifig. These are my 6 custom James Bond villain, and of course James Bond, like, minifigs that I made. So let me know in the comments below who's your favorite, if the comments stay open, because I've been having this super odd problem lately where the comments will just shut them off like themselves. So I'm gonna have to get that figured out in my settings pretty soon. But the Secret Productions sign off for now. Make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned, because I have some pretty big videos and exciting videos coming soon. So I will see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.